Hi there and welcome to Gaining Vision. I'm Melanie. Have you had an opportunity to subscribe to the channel yet? If not, take a second, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to like and share. If I was to ask you who your role model was growing up, who would it be? Would it be your parents, teacher, or somebody else? Perhaps it was a coach, older sibling. There's so many different people that have been our role models in our lives. But what goes into being a good role model? Not only is it important for us to understand this, but also it is important for us to be good role models for others. So obviously, you have to lead by example. So you want to make sure that you're acting appropriately so that people can learn from you. It could be, I'll use an example as a teacher. A teacher is somebody that is often a role model. I know a lot of my role models were teachers. I want to emulate to be like them. So for me, wanting to be a teacher growing up, I knew that I had to follow in their direction. So they obviously were always on time, they were caring, they were articulate, they always had a good sense of humor and would give us different activities to work with. For me, that's who I wanted to be. So I wanted to emulate them. I used some of the ways they were to work towards what I wanted to be as a teacher. Now perhaps if you're a young boy and you wanted to be an athlete, it would be a coach, whether it's your coach's soccer team, football team, whatever team it is you want to be. You probably want to follow in their footsteps. Or maybe, it might be a famous sports player. So these kids idolize their sports heroes. They watch them on TV. They see them getting as many goals or baskets or whatever sport we're talking about, touchdowns. And they want to be like them. They want to strive to be like them. But then if they see their role models doing things off the field or off the ice in a bad way, they're not setting a very good example of being a role model. Now, nobody asks to be a role model, and that's the other tricky part, because kids or even adults tend to choose their role models themselves. They don't know what's happening, or they know what's happening, but the role model themselves may not know that somebody is looking at them to learn from them. So naturally, we want to just be our best us, especially if we have kids around us, whether as a teacher, or as a parent, or even as an older sibling. We're not all going to be perfect human beings, let's face facts, but when you have anybody that looks up to you, have responsibility to do your very best. So going back to those athletes, if they choose to do drugs to help enhance their performance, what example are they setting for young people? That it's okay, and that's the only way to do it. But in fact, it should be about good strategy, a good work ethic, and a plan. And practice, practice, practice. For teachers, we want to ensure that we're giving our students what they need. A caring ear, listening, hearing, and guidance when appropriate. If we see a student struggling because they can't read or they're getting bullied, we need to step in and be the hero. We need to say something to the right authorities, to their parents, to have that conversation. As a sibling, if you're a role model, it's hard because you're definitely going to make mistakes as a young person or even growing up. But you can definitely set the way things should be, by following the rules and taking accountability when you're not perfect. You can encourage the people that you are role models to try their very best. Even as adults, I think we always have role models, somebody we want to emulate, somebody we want to work towards being like. It could be a successful business person, it could be somebody that is a philanthropist, it could be anybody that's in our personal circle or a professional circle. The one thing about role models, though, is we tend to put them on pedestals. So we think they're perfect, we think they can do no wrong, and we can sometimes be disappointed when we're let down for them for being human. So being a role model, you have to take responsibility, but also as acquiring a role model or taking on somebody that you want to be like, you have to be realistic and knowing that they're human as well. most successful people have had role models in their life, whether it's how to be a good parent. You want to emulate your parents, or perhaps you've had a poor childhood and you've seen your friends' family and their parents are the ones that you want to emulate. You're always going to have somebody that you're trying to be more like, but also remember that you're you, and don't shy away from being you. It's good to take things from role models as far as behaviors and different things like that, but don't lose who you are, because ultimately that's who you are. We want to make sure role models also don't have too much influence over young people. And this is a tricky one. I'm going to allude to musicians or celebrities. Let's face facts. They make lots of money, they wear beautiful clothes, they probably look amazing, but they tend to party hard, they tend to use lots of money they may not always have, and they think they can get away with everything. I'm going to just talk about one young boy I knew who had absolutely a huge Justin Bieber friend. And Justin Bieber is Canadian, so it was even more, and he was into music. He wanted to be just like him. Now, I think every child has always wanted to be just like somebody. And then when Justin kind of started to do things, getting in the news for the wrong reasons, he started to kind of react in the same way. He started to misbehave. And I had to show him that, yes, he's a very talented young man and he has been very successful, but he also is human. He has to go through growing up in the spotlight. So having somebody alongside of young people to show them that, yes, it's good to have role models and not discourage it, but also point out the reality. Because unfortunately, as a celebrity, you're always in the spotlight, and everything you do is going to be picked up, whether good or bad. And if kids think that being a celebrity is what they want, they're only going to see the good things. They're not going to really look at the bad. So having somebody, a parent or a teacher, to point out the pros and cons of having role models is important as well. Having role models helps you reinforce your confidence. They help guide you when necessary. They also can be a big cheerleader. I found that some of my role models growing up were silent. They didn't know they were there, but they were always supportive. They encouraged me, that sort of thing. I guess my first role model, of course, was my mom and dad. I wanted to be a good mom like my mom. I wanted to love like my mom. My dad, I wanted to be a good business person like my dad. I wanted to work hard like my dad. And then my teachers, as I mentioned, wanting to be a teacher. But even when I got to university, I had role models. Some of the TAs that had gone through the program before, they helped guide me when I needed to, when I was a little bit unsure of which way to go. And the professors, what role models? They've been through it. They've done it professionally. Now they're back to share their knowledge with us. Of course you want to emulate them. You want to be inspired to be like them. But reality is, role models only take us so far. Because once we get the guiding principles of what it takes to be successful, we need to take a step back and look at ourselves and not depend on other people to help guide us. So are role models good or bad? That's the main question. I'd say they're definitely good for some situations, but they also can become something that people become dependent on. And when they see the role model make a mistake or be human, it can put them back. It can affect their way they're doing things. Even their confidence can be affected. So within moderation, like everything, I guess role models are a good thing. Have you had role models in your life? Have you been a role model? Are you currently? It's a big responsibility to be a role model. So remember, everything you're doing, you're being watched. So be careful. I remember as a big sister, I was a role model. Not only with my family, but with the Big Sisters organization, I had a little sister, and it was a great experience. But I had to remember, even though I was only 18, still going through my trials and tribulations of growing up, I had to be a role model to this young woman who was struggling in some aspects of her life, and I had to put my best foot forward always. And that's what I try to do to this day. Now, I know I've had an impact on all my sisters' lives, my real sisters and my little sister, and it's a big responsibility. And they still come to me today for that advice and guidance. And I hope that I live up to their expectations. But I also hope that they always remember that I'm only human. Role models are definitely a good thing within moderation and important for young people to have, and for us as role models to take real accountability for that. I'd love to hear some of your experiences with role models or being a role model, so let's have a conversation in the chat. Until next time, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share, and I'll catch you next time.